Up out of school. Shalom, we back at it with a second lesson. Brother Naquan.
Brother Ryan.
Going over, can the heathen be saved?
Right.
All right. Can the heathen be saved? A lot of people are trying to figure out in Christianity and your family, your Aunt Toya, Uncle Leroy, Keisha, Nene, Man-Mans. All of them, they trying to figure out, can everybody make it, man? So we're going to go through it and find out, can the heathen, when we say the heathen, in the Hebrew, that's the Gawayim, or Ha-Gawayim, which means the nations. Can the other nations outside of the nation of Israel make it to the kingdom of heaven but salvation? We're going to go through the precepts, who the Gentiles are, who the strangers are, the heathen, the foreigners. We're going to cover the history. Like the brother said earlier, we're going to leave no stone unturned.
Right.
Let's go to Galatians 3 and 28. Galatians chapter 3 and 28.
It's the book of Galatians, chapter 3 and verse number 28. And it reads, there is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female, for we are all one in Hamashiach Yahushua.
Right. Now, we've all heard that, man. Right? That's the number one bullet for the so-called white man and your family members and everybody. There is neither Jew nor Greek, bond nor free, male nor female, for we are all one in Yahushua HaMashiach. Right? And they say, well, the Gentiles can be saved. Anytime you out there teaching, you'll hear that combative argument, well, can the white man make it? So y'all mean to tell me y'all hate the white man? We may not have said anything about the so-called white man. We might have put Deuteronomy 28 and 68, and now they kind of stiffen up, so the so-called white man can't make it. Or y'all hate white people. I know, brothers, y'all heard that before. Because our people cleave to the oppressor, and they don't want to make it to the kingdom unless the so-called white man can make it. So Galatians 3 and 28 is a precept going into the Gentiles. But we're going to go through the history and show who these strangers and these heathen and Gentiles are according to the word. You got something?
And I wanted to read 16. It's like the Lord said, you got to go precept upon precept and line upon line. So when you jump to Galatians 3 and 16, it says, now to Abraham and his seed were the promises made. He saith not, and to seeds as of many, but as of one, and that seed, which is Hamashiach Yahushua. So he told you, man, that's the lineage of Israel, right? That neither Jew nor Greek, and that's what that's going into before you even read down to verse 28.
Let's go back to the beginning. Let's go to the book of Deuteronomy. All right, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28. Right, and 15. Right? We all know Deuteronomy, we went through it earlier, is given to the children of Israel. Deuteronomy 28 and 15.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe, to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So we're beginning to get the foundation of the Gentiles by going to Deuteronomy. A lot of people that will read the New Testament, let's go to 2 Peter 3 and 15. A lot of people that will read the New Testament and they haven't read the Old Testament. You can't go to the end of a movie and expect to understand what the movie's about and comprehend it if you haven't seen the beginning of it, man. What sense does it make to do a movie review and be a movie critic when you only watch one half of the movie, from the middle to the end? You got somebody that, they're in the movie, if you understand, and they read the beginning or they watched the beginning of the movie, they will have a better understanding. You understand as somebody who's just hopping in this thing unawares. So let's go to 2 Peter 3 and 15, and let's read that.
That's right. It's the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 15. An account that with long suffering our Lord is salvation, even as our beloved brother Paul, also according to the wisdom given unto him, have written unto you.
Right. Hath written unto you. The you in this context, let's go to 1 Peter 1 and 1 real quick. Who is Peter writing his letter to? You have to understand, when you're reading the New Testament, it's not a book of a mythology and fairy tales. You have a speaker, you have an audience. All of these letters from Romans all the way to Revelation are letters written to Israelites in different parts of the known world, whether it's in Greece, Asia Minor, wherever the case may be, Italy. Right now, this is Peter writing a letter to certain men that are where?
It's the book of 1 Peter, chapter 1 and verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Mashiach Yahushua, to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Galatia, Cappadocia, Asia, Bithynia, elect according to the foreknowledge of God the Father, through sanctification of the Spirit unto obedience, sprinkling of the blood of Mashiach Yahushua, grace unto you and peace be multiplied. So it told you who it was, the strangers scattered abroad, right? It said elect. Who are the elect? The children of Israel, according to the foreknowledge of God through sanctification of the Spirit and unto obedience, sprinkling of the blood of Mashiach Yahushua. Who did he die for? The nation of Israel. John 1:29, right? Grace unto you and peace be multiplied. And we know that grace and mercy is only to the children of Israel. Wisdom of Solomon 4:15.
Right, now, what I got right here, right, is a map. Let's read that again, Baba Kashar.
Come.
This is from an atlas, and I'm gonna show you something.
This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 1 and verse 1. Peter, an apostle of Mashiach Yahushua, to the strangers.
To the strangers. These are Israelites, and we're going to go through and how they became strangers. To the strangers,
scattered.
They're scattered abroad. Real quick, well, yeah, go on.
Scattered throughout Pontus.
These are actual locations on the earth to this day. Pontus.
Galatia.
Galatia, when you read the epistle written to the Galatians.
Cappadocia.
Cappadocia.
Asia.
Asia.
Bithynia.
Bithynia.
Elect.
These are the elect, right? We know that's Israel, right? Isaiah 45:4 tell you that. Now this is from the Collins Atlas of the Bible, right? You have to know where these places are so you can understand what the hell is going on in the New Testament. Peter's writing a letter to Israelites that live in these locations. There are churches. There's a church in Bithynia. There's a church in Cappadocia. There's a church out there in that same region in other parts of Asia Minor. What else? Cappadocia, Bithynia. That was it, right? And Galatia. Now, modern day, do brothers know before I show you where that's at? What country? Well, what actual country? It's Turkey. Right? Brothers got a map. You can see these places are in modern day Turkey. Right? You can see Cappadocia, Galatia, Pontus. These are different provinces within Asia Minor. You had Israelites living in modern day Turkey during the time of Paul. Not every Israelite lived in Jerusalem, inside of the temple, next to the mercy seat, man. You had Israelites all over.
Right.
Now I'm gonna read this quick excerpt just to give you a historical background. Right? This is let me read this, King Baba Kashar. Now this is from, again, the Collins Atlas of the Bible, the land, events, and people of the world's most famous book. Right? So it's about the Bible and the history and geography of the Bible. Now this is from page 170. It reads, large communities of Jews were found outside Palestine, meaning the land of Israel, in the late 8th and 7th centuries. For it was then that, after the fall of the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, many captives were transported to Assyria and Babylonia. During the Persian period and after, this Mesopotamian diaspora, meaning they were scattered abroad throughout the so-called Middle East, remained a center of Jewish life. A few Jews also moved from Judah to Egypt as mercenary troops of the Persian estate, like Zerubbabel. He wasn't in Egypt, but he was a mercenary. He was a bodyguard of the king. Right? Reading on. It says, I'm going to get straight to the point. It reads, the causes of this diaspora, Slakia, it says, bear with me, of the Persian state as the chance of survival of the archive of the 5th century of Elephantine and Upper Egypt revealed. However, the great expansion of Jews outside of Palestine occurred only after the conquest of the Persian Empire by Alexander the Great. So when the Greeks came and took over, that's when a lot of Jews was dispersed and scattered abroad. We're going to go to that in Maccabees soon. It reads, Alexander's victory welded the lands of the eastern Mediterranean and the Fertile Crescent into a single political unit and fostered the development of a homogeneous Hellenistic culture. Meaning, the so-called white man came and took over the known world and forced all of the people to be like him. Like the Greeks.
Right. You
had Jews that lived out there in Asia Minor who were forced, as we read on and go through the history, to live, think, and be like the Greeks. Paul is writing a letter to the descendants of these men that still live like that, but now they're coming back to the Lord. They got Paul's letters, right? Paul was sending letters to these different churches, like the book of Galatians. Peter read those letters. Peter said these letters are hard to be understood. So let's go back to that in 2 Peter 3. And if Peter's the top apostle and said that Paul's letters are hard to be understood, what makes you think Grandma Bertha is going to break it down to you the right way? All right, so let's go back to that in 2 Peter 3 and 15.
This is the book of 2 Peter, chapter 3 and verse 15. An account that the long suffering of our Lord is salvation, even as our Lord, brother Paul, also according to the wisdom given unto him, have written unto you, as also in all his epistles, speaking in them of things in which are some things hard to be understood.
What?
Hard to be understood.
Right.
Which they that are unlearned and unstable rest, as they do also the other scriptures, unto their own destruction.
Damn. You see that?
There you go, man.
The Lord said, when these letters go out, people they'll rest me and they'll twist them up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, God loves everybody because it says He loves the Greeks. Are you a Greek? Right there. See the Gentiles right there. The Lord loved the Gentiles. And Cornelius, he was a white man of the Italian band. Right? So God is dealing with everybody. They'll twist up the entire New Testament to their own destruction because they are unlearned. They have not read the history. They haven't watched the movie from the beginning to understand the end. You got a question, brother? No. No, the Apostle Paul spoke Greek, right? The Most High does everything, right? But the language up there in the heavens is the Hebrew, right? And Greek was given to man.
Right.
So you got it.
Yeah, I got a precept, right? Just like we would be called the Americans, right? That's why we say you so-called the African American, so-called Haitian, so-called Dominican, right? Because through the ways of being scattered, what do? We take on these nationalities, these false terms, right? Let's get that in 1 Maccabees. It's the book of 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 40. Let me see, is this what I want? Yeah, this is what I want. I'm going to start at verse 41. 1 Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to the whole kingdom that all should be one people. Don't that sound like America? Everybody one nation under God, right? The liberty, all of that, to be one nation. Right? No, you're not Chinese no more. You're not East Indian. We're all Americans, right? It says, moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, right? The so-called white man, right? And everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Yet many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto idols and profaned the Sabbath, right? So you had wicked Jakes that was like, you know what? I'm going to heed to the so-called white man. I'm going to lead the laws of my God, and I'm going to cleave unto the so-called white man and his religion.
Right. And his religion is assimilation, man. Right? Making everybody to be like him. And this happened during the time of the Greek Empire. Right? Hellenization. By force, a lot of our forefathers were forced to become so-called white men by actions. You understand? Like now we celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas. You're just like a so-called white man. Like the brothers going to same thing back then. Let's real quick go to Deuteronomy 28 and 64. Right? Deuteronomy 28 and 64.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 28 and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy father has known, even wood and stone. So it was already prophesied in Deuteronomy that the Israelites would live like the other nations. You'll be scattered abroad upon the face of the earth. So when we're talking about the Gentiles, you want to make sure that you backtrack it from the beginning to understand who these prophecies pertain to from the beginning, man. When you would serve gods like Zeus, you would serve gods like Diana of Ephesus in the book of Acts, or Mercury, or whatever Greek or heathen god that was set up. Hercules, God.
Yes,
No.
Let's go on. Right, let's go to Deuteronomy 32 and 26. We give you the foundation. We give you the foundation of the prophecies that will befall the Israelites and how they became strangers. Things built up for the Lord to call these brothers Jews and Greeks. What the hell happened? Where is this history at? Why is the Lord always talking about the Greeks during a time when the Greeks don't even rule? The Romans are ruling. So what's going on? A lot of people, they don't know the history, and they don't know that missing gap that we trying to fill in right now. 32 and 26.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32 and verse 26. I said, I would scatter them into corners and would make the remembrance of them to cease from among men.
See that?
Plain upon tape.
The Lord said he's going to blot out our name under heaven. Our remembrance, the fact that of us knowing that we Israel, that would cease to exist. It was written that would happen. Let's go to Deuteronomy 4 and 27. Why do you think we don't know who we are? You think this is the first time? No, you had our forefathers in the time of the time of the apostles. They didn't know who the hell they was. Yeah, men like Timothy's father and other men, they didn't know what was going on. 4 and 27.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 4, verse 27. And the Lord shall scatter you among the nations, and ye shall be left few in number among the heathen, whether the Lord shall lead you.
What do you think we did when we got scattered among the heathen? Bring it out again, brother. We took on their culture. Let's go to Psalm chapter 106 and 34. We took on their culture. We didn't go and get scattered among the heathen and say, well, I hate y'all, let's just serve the Most High. I said, well, how do you serve that God? Or you bow down to it this many times a day? Okay, well, what are you doing this day? Was that Christmas? Okay, show me how to do that. Thanksgiving? Okay, cranberry sauce, a mac and cheese. Same thing, man. How do you celebrate 4th of July? We learned that from our parents. And they learned that from their parents, and they learned it from the so-called white man when they was conquered. The same thing happened in ancient times.
Right. It's the book of Psalms, right? And ultimately, that's going into you not knowing who you are and you just cleave. You wanted some type of help. You want some type of God. You don't know what's going on, and you just want to die and be picked up. Like a little kid lost in the store. They just want somebody to pick them up. It don't matter who the hell it is, man. They just want to be held. Right? It's the book of Psalms, chapter 106 and verse 35. But were mingled among the heathen and learned their works, and they were and they served their idols, which were a snare unto them.
See that? That's plain right there. We got mingled among the heathen and learned their works. How a woman to put on pants, right? How to prostitute yourself, how to be a nigga, how to raise your children. You know, politics, democracy, religion, festivities. We got mingled amongst these Babylonians and we learned all of their works.
Right. Damn blonde hair, blue eyes, damn Eve trying to look like the so-called white woman. Just trying, because that's what Babylon pushes, man, what beauty is, right?
Yeah, that bleaching your skin spirit, man. A lot of Benjamin into that thing, man.
Heavy in Benjamin.
They want that, I want to bleach my skin, right? And they sit there and they kind of do the little soap and the little thing. And
skirt.
Yeah, you see Simeon do, Sammy Sosa, man.
Right.
Sammy Sosa got a problem. He think he's a so-called white man from the 50s.
Right.
Right?
The slick back.
Yeah, he got the slick back, the doo-wop and all that, man.
Bad.
You look at these female celebrities, Nicki Minaj, damn Beyonce, Rihanna. I know brother seen Lil' Kim. She's done. She's finished, man. She is over. Yeah, she looked like one of those porcelain Chinese dolls, man.
Right.
And she can't come back.
Right.
It's over. You know? A lot of Jake do that too, man. So you got these guys, they got with the blonde braids and blonde locks. Odell Beckham, man. You know? Right? And Odell Beckham's questionable.
Yeah.
Let's go
Very
to
questionable.
Yeah. You know? Now he can get mad and say, I was watching the live stream, y'all was getting on me. Alright, so what?
Yeah, Khan, this is what it is.
Right? Let's go to 1 Samuel. Right? Odell getting the live stream in the comment board.
Right, that blue check.
Right.
First Samuel.
We're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 50. We're going to 1 Samuel because we're building up the history. From the time of Deuteronomy, it was already prophesied that Israel will be scattered abroad. Now we're in a time of David and Saul. You're going to see how the Most High is dividing the kingdom. The Most High is dividing the kingdom between Israel and Judah. All right, and this is one of the first accounts of the Most High doing that, foreshadowing that the kingdom will be divided. Yeah.
It's the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17 and verse 50. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David.
Right.
Therefore David ran and stood upon the Philistine, and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath thereof, and slew him, and cut off his head therewith.
Right, this David, we just talked about that, how he killed Goliath.
And when the Philistines saw the champion was dead, they fled. And the men of Israel and of Judah,
Read that again.
the men of Israel and of Judah arose.
Slucky. The men of Israel and of Judah. Why is the Lord dividing them? Why does the Lord send the men of Israel and the men of Judah if we all just one nation? Right? Because you had this separation. Right? You had these two different parties, for lack of better terms. Right? That would had a division between the families and the household. Now they were united at one time, at this time, but the Lord still divides them. Right? You have the kingdom, or you had Judah and you had Israel. Now this is before the kingdom was even split in half, after the Solomon's time. You got something else?
Come on, I got something. Just to go into what the brother was saying. So book of 2 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 1. And it came to pass after this that David inquired of the Lord, saying, Shall I go up to any of these cities of Judah? And the Lord said unto him, Go up. And David said, Whither shall I go? And he said unto him, Hebron. And he said unto him, Hebron. So David went up thither, and his two wives also, and Theminon and Jezreelis, and Abigail, and Nabal's wife Caramel, and these men that were with him. And David bringing every man to his household, and they dwelt in the cities of Hebron. That's the point. And the men of Judah came there, and they anointed King David, right, king over the house of Judah. And they told David, saying that the men of Jesse Gilead were that were buried Saul. So he became king over Judah. And when you jump down to verse 8, but Abner, the son of Ner, captain of Saul's host, took Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and brought him over to Mathananon, and made him king over Gilead, and over the Isherites, and over Jezreel, and over Ephraim, and over Benjamin, and over all Israel.
Good precept. That's a good precept, right? That's a good precept that shows the division. Judah, when we're saying Judah, that's the tribe of Judah. Why did they take David and make David king? By showing them hands, like always. Why did the tribe of Judah take David and make him king?
I want to say because the house was split between David and Saul. Saul was the king over all Israel, and then David became king over Judah.
Yeah, but why did they make David king?
Was it because of Samuel?
Not necessarily. We're going to show you. Go to 2 Samuel 5 and 1. We're going to show you. Why did the house of Judah take David and make David their king? What tribe is David from? From the tribe of Judah. So of course his brother's going to take him and make him king. They're the closest of kin to him.
It's the book of 2 Samuel chapter 5 and verse 1. Then came all the tribes of Israel to David unto Hebron, and spake, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh.
Right, we are thy bone and thy flesh. It's all of the tribes. But who's the closest out of all of the tribes to David? The tribe of Judah. So you had David that reigned over Judah, and then you had Abner, which was a military general for Saul, for the house of Saul. And he took one of Saul's sons and made him the ruler over the rest of the tribes. Right? Let's go, I have another precept in my mind. I can't think of it. Let's go to 1 Samuel 18 and 16 again. Oh, let's go to 1 Samuel 18 and 16. Then 2 Samuel 3 and 1. So even before you go into Galatians 3 and 28, you got to know how the kingdom of Israel was divided. It didn't just happen in the first Kings. It was happening already during the time of David. This thing was already going on. You had families being divided.
Right.
I'm not dealing with the house of Judah, right? Because they got David. We got Abner. Then all of the tribes eventually they kind of went and, linked up with David, but you still have schisms of households and families.
It's the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 18 and verse number 16. But all Israel and Judah loved David because he went out and came in before them.
See, now they love David, man. All Israel and Judah, they love David. Who's Judah? Chiefly the tribe of Judah in this context. There are times when you read Judah and it's talking about Benjamin and Levi, but the kingdom wasn't divided at this time. You had Judah and you had the rest of the tribes. All right? You got something else?
Nah, you got it.
Let's go to 2 Samuel 3 and 1. You got to read Samuel. You got to read 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, 1 Kings, 2 Kings.
It's the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 3 and verse 1. Now there was long war between the house of Saul and the house of David. But David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker.
All right, the house of Saul is Saul, Jonathan, Ishbosheth, his sons, their descendants, Abner. That's the house of Saul. These are Israelites, but they're fighting against the house of David. Who's the house of David? David and his sons, man, and his mighty men, and his nephews Joab and Abishai, right? Ashael. These are his sons, his nephews and his family, man. So you had the house of David, his family, fighting against the family of King Saul. So by default, you had Israel, which was the tribe of Judah, fighting against the rest of the Israelites that was going to war with each other. All right, brothers, understand that? Let's go to 1 Kings chapter 11 and 28. All right, now we're in the time of 1 Kings chapter 11 and 28. During the time of Solomon reigning.
Salaki, real fast, let me get this precept.
Come. So you got to go through the history. You have to understand how we became Gentiles. It all started with the kingdom being divided. It may seem small, but it played a major role in us being divided as a nation.
That's right. We was even divided during the time of Judges when we had war with the Benjamites.
Right.
Right. It's the book of Judges, chapter 20, verse 18. And the children of Israel arose and went up to the house of God and asked counsel of God and said, which of us shall go up first to the battle against the children of Benjamin? And the Lord said, Judah shall go up first. So even back all the way from back then, like the brother was saying, from the time of 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, Judges, it was all leading up to this, right? It was division amongst the tribes.
Con. That's right. So let's go to 1 Kings chapter 11. Now this division is about to get major. It's about to step it up. The Most High is about to step up the division big time in 1 Kings the 11th chapter.
Con. It's the book of 1 Kings chapter 11, and I'm going to start at verse 28. And the man, Jeroboam, was a mighty man of valor. And Solomon, seeing the young man, that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph.
He set him up over the tribe. Who's the house of Joseph? What tribe is that? Ephraim. He set up over the tribe of Ephraim. And Solomon saw this man and said, I could use this man. This man is industrious. He gets stuff done. Right, go on.
And it came to pass at that time when Jeroboam went out of Jerusalem that the prophet Ahijah the Shilonite found him in the way, and he had clad himself with a new garment, and they two were alone in the field.
Right, you see that? So you got this man Jeroboam in the field with a prophet, like an old western. They two alone, right? Just one looking at the other. You got Jeroboam, you got this new garment on. You got this prophet Ahijah. Something about to go down. Let's see what happens.
And Ahijah caught the new garment that was on him and rent it in 12 pieces.
See that? Kind of grabbed him up, man.
Right. Jacked him up.
Aggressive. Snatched up his garment. You got to be strong to tear like a garment like that in 12 pieces, man. Go on.
And
Let's see what this is for.
And he said to Jeroboam, take thee 10 pieces, for thus saith the Lord, the God of Israel, behold, I will rent the kingdom out of the hand of Solomon, and will give 10 tribes to thee.
You see that? Jeroboam, now he's about to have 10 tribes. All right? He's going to have 10 tribes. The rest of the tribes are going to be known as the house of Judah. All right? This division, you have the house of Ephraim, or the house of, or the northern kingdom, against the southern kingdom, a.k.a. the house of Judah.
Right, there's one more. But he shall have one tribe for my servant David's sake, and for Jerusalem's sake.
Right. So he had one tribe in the tribe of Judah. All right. The other man, he had 10 tribes. All the other 10 tribes except who? Except Levi. Levi was dispersed. All right, but the other tribes were cleaving to him, with the exception of Levi and Judah. Judah has their own tribe, and Levi, they didn't have a set landmass when you read it. The children of Levi were in the suburbs of the cities of Israel.
Right.
So the other 10 tribes from Ephraim on down to Naphtali, they were under the hand of this one man. So this is the division right here between the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. Your so-called Latin tribes, Hispanic, Native American tribes, and your so-called Negro tribes. You got Jake that beef about that to this day. You got northern kingdom only camps. You got brothers that say northern kingdom is in Israel. You got northern kingdom that say we're Canaanites. So that them curses still live on in 2020. This is over 2,900 years ago.
It's the book of 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 16. It say, so when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them.
Well, we gotta get the context from that.
Yeah, we can get the context.
Yeah.
It's the book of 1 Kings chapter 12, right? And I'm gonna start at verse. This whole thing kind of crazy.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start at 12.
You start at
You
6.
the whole thing.
No, you start at 6.
It's the book of 1 Kings chapter 12 and verse 6. And the king Rehoboam consulted.
Now, Slakia, Rehoboam is the son of Solomon. Solomon just died. All right? Now remember, you have Jeroboam who has these tribes, and you have Rehoboam who's the son of Solomon who's over the tribe of Judah. All of Israel, they came to Rehoboam, and they were being burdened by the burdens of Solomon, and they wanted Rehoboam to be nice to them, for lack of better terms, to treat them well.
Right. Let's read that. This is verse 3. That they sent and called him. Jeroboam and all the congregation of Israel came and spake unto Rehoboam, saying, thy father made our yoke grievous. Now therefore make thou the grievous service of thy father and his heavy yoke which he hath put upon us lighter, that we will serve thee.
Right. So Solomon put heavy taxes and heavy burdens on the people. He had a lot of building projects. He required a lot for his kingdom and for his household. He sent kings out throughout the different provinces to receive tribute from the people, for lack of better terms. So the people were being burdened.
Right.
So they said, we can't deal with that. Can you please alleviate the pressure that Solomon was applying on us? They came to the king of Judah and they asked him that.
Right, and he had the power to do that. But let's
Right.
see what he did. Verse 6. Jumping to verse 6. And the king Rehoboam consulted with the old men that stood before Solomon his father, while he yet lived, and said, how do ye advise that I may answer this people?
So he did a good thing. And this time,
Right.
he got counsel.
For right now.
Yeah, for right now. He said, what do you think I should do about this situation? These people, they want me to treat them a little better than my father Solomon. I'm the king right now. These men, they were Solomon's advisors. He said, well, what do I do? Let's see what happens.
Verse 7. They spake unto him, saying, if thou wilt be a servant unto this people this day, and will serve them, and answer them, and speak good words to them, then they will be thy servants forever.
You see that? Just treat them well.
Right.
And they'll respect you.
Be a good king.
Yeah, don't be I don't want to use that word, but don't be that kind of guy.
Right.
A-hole, man, to the people. All right?
Right. Verse 8. But he forsook the counsel of the old men, which they had given him.
He said, I don't want to listen to that counsel about being nice to the people.
Right, the ancient gray hairs, the men of wisdom.
Right.
And consulted with the young men that were grown up with him, right, his damn friends, man, and which stood before him.
You see that? See that? He went home, listen to his homeboys.
Right, his men.
Right? What you think I should do? Man, you know what you should do. I got this idea, man. Right, why don't you act like this and do A, B, and C? Instead of listening to the ancient old men like the brother was saying.
Right.
All right, so what other counsel can they give you outside of treating your people with brotherly love? Let's see what happens.
Verse 9. And he said unto them, what counsel give ye that we may answer this people? And have spoken to me, saying, make the yoke which thy father did put upon us lighter.
This man's double-minded, right?
And the young men that were grown up with him spake unto him, saying, Thus shalt thou speak unto this people that spake unto thee, saying, Thy father made our yoke heavy, but make thou it lighter unto us, that thou shouldest say unto them, my little finger, that it should be thicker than my father's loins. They going the hell off, man.
See that? Right? We all know what his father's loins are. And he said, I'm going to really apply the pressure on you, man. Right? Basically, I'm going to F you over, man.
All right. Basically.
That's pretty much what he's saying.
God.
He pretty said, F these people, man. Tell them F them, man. Right? And I'm going to put hell on you.
Verse 11. And now, whereas my father did lay you with heavy yoke, and I will add to your yoke, but my father have chastened you with whips, but I will chasten you with scorpions. So you're going to turn it up a damn 7 degrees, man, on the people. Right? They're damn crying into him saying, lighten up the burden. But he's saying, you know, I'm going to turn it up some more, man. Right? That wicked counsel from his friends.
Right.
Right? You want to read all the way down or jump?
Yeah, we can read down.
All right, come. Verse 12. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam the third day, as the king had appointed, saying, Come to me again the third day. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastened you with whips, but I will chasten you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord.
Meaning the Lord made him go off.
That he might perform his saying, which the Lord spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat.
Right, so this, Slakia, what it's saying is, you may have said, well, that was a foolish thing that Rehoboam did. It said that was from the Lord. The Lord had it happen, man. Lord make you take that left turn to run across so-and-so, man. Lord had you forget something in the grocery store to go back in there and meet so-and-so. That cause is from the Lord. It may seem like an error on a carnal level, but even your errors are from the Lord for his purpose. The error for Solomon dying and Rehoboam going off is that it can be fulfilled that Jeroboam can receive the portion of the 10 tribes. If Rehoboam was to speak good things to the people, then Jeroboam would never get the 10 tribes that we just read about. So everything has to be fulfilled. Bring it out, brother.
What's the same thing where you talk about Ahab, when the Lord sent the word down there?
Yeah, when the Lord...
He just, you know what I'm saying, soon the spirit, the Lord just did that again in this account.
Exactly.
He sent the young man, and you know what I'm saying?
You put an evil counsel in the spirit of young men.
Right.
And the spirit of folly and Rehoboam to even go seek these young men out.
Right.
Everything is of the Lord.
And it's a precept on that. It's the book of Isaiah, right? Chapter 63 and verse 17. O Yahweh, why hast thou made us to err from thy ways, and harden our hearts from thy fear? Return for thy servant's sake the tribes of thine inheritance. So they even know, man, right? When you go off the Lord making you do that, man, everything is predestined. Right, so the Lord hardened Rehoboam's heart, right, to harden into these wicked counsel, these men.
That's right.
We'll read on down to 16.
Come.
Right? I believe
Isaiah 63 and 17.
it's the book of 1 Kings, chapter 12, right? And I'm going to start at 13. And the king answered the people roughly, and forsook the old men's counsel that they gave him, and spake to them after the counsel of the young men, saying, My father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. My father also chastened you with whips, but I will chasten you with scorpions. Wherefore the king hearkened not unto the people, for the cause was from the Lord, that he might perform his saying, which the Lord spake by Ahijah the Shilonite unto Jeroboam the son of Nebat. So when all Israel saw that the king hearkened not unto them, the people answered the king, saying, What portion have we in David?
Right, meaning, look, they don't want to take care of us, man. I don't want to deal with the family that comes from the house of David, man. Go, what portion have we in David? Meaning, they're not looking out for us. Guess we have to, look out for ourselves. If the king don't want to look out for us, what portion in allegiance do we have with this man?
Right. I don't care about us.
Right.
Neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse.
Right.
To your tents, O Israel, now see to thine own house, David. So Israel departed into their tents.
See that's the division right there.
Right there.
Look, we're going to go our way, you go your way. That's how you want to treat us. Look, we're going to do our own thing. right? And y'all do y'all thing. So now you got this division going on between Israel and who? And Judah. All right?
God, I want to get a little bit more on that. I
God.
want to jump to verse 19. So Israel rebelled against the house of David until this day. And it came to pass, when all Israel heard that Jeroboam was come again, that they sent and called him unto the congregation and made him king over all Israel. There was none that followed the house of David, but the tribes of Judah only. So, I mean, all hell broke loose. It was the division, and they said, so Israel rebelled against the house of David until this day.
That's right. So now you have 10 tribes against the house of Judah. You still got Levi, they kind of in the middle. They just doing their job, right? Now you got Judah, you got Benjamin. But Benjamin about to read on, they're about to cleave to the house of David. This is the beginning of the southern kingdom being formed. So let's read on.
Verse 21. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he assembled all the house of Judah.
He got the house of Judah.
With the tribe of Benjamin.
With what?
With the tribe of Benjamin.
Because literally, Benjamin and Judah, they're right next to each other when you look it up on the map. And David had allegiances with some of the men from Benjamin from the time when he was king. So they said, well, we know about David. We had our little wars and whatever, but we don't know this guy Jeroboam. We know Rehoboam and David. We're going to cleave unto them. So Benjamin cleaved unto Judah.
And 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against the house of Israel.
You see that?
To bring the kingdom against Rehoboam, the son of Solomon.
So they want to take northern kingdom down by force, man. So you have Judah and Benjamin. Let's go to 2 Chronicles 11 and 11. What other tribe is part of the southern kingdom that we haven't read about? Levi. So we read about Judah being established. Now Benjamin cleaved to Judah. Now let's read about the Levites kind of getting in this thing too. How did Levi join? I thought they was all over the place. Let's find out. 2 Chronicles 11, and let's start at 11. All right, 2 Chronicles chapter 11 and 11.
It's the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 11 and verse 11. And he fortified the stronghold and put captains in them and stored a victual of oil and wine.
This Rehoboam, the same man we just read about, the king of Judah.
And in every several city he has put shields and spears and made them exceedingly strong, having Judah and Benjamin on his side.
You see that? Had Judah and Benjamin on his side, right?
And the priests.
And the what?
And the priests.
Right?
And the Levites that were in all Israel restored to him.
Resorted
to him out of all their coasts.
Right?
For the Levites left their suburbs and their possessions and came to Judah and Jerusalem. For Jeroboam his son have cast them off from executing the priest office unto the Lord, and he ordained him priest for an high place and for the devils that they clave which he had made.
See that? Now, and the calves. The children of Levi, they said they got fired, man. How you gonna fire who the Most High hired?
Yeah.
The Most High hired them and made them the priests, and Jeroboam said, "You're fired. All right, get out of here." They said, "All right, we're packing up our stuff, like you." And they went down south, man. They moved down to where the children of Judah was. Because when you read Kings, we're not going to read all the Kings. You had Jeroboam, who did what? He made his own high holy day. He set up 2 golden calves and said, if the children of Judah, he did a political move on the left-hand side. He said, I don't want them to go and keep the Feast of Tabernacles and high holy days in Jerusalem. Because then they're going to go down there and get acquainted with the southern kingdom and love them. I'm going to make my own high holy day. He made his own high holy day and 2 golden calves and said, it's too far for y'all to go to Jerusalem. Why don't you just keep the high holy day here and worship these 2 golden calves? Right. They said, okay, we'll do that. That's off. So this was a political move to get the people to follow him.
Right, this is the account. It's the book of 1 Kings, chapter 12, verse 28. Whereupon the king took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, it is too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Right, it's too burdensome. Don't keep the law. Right, go into her law. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee up out of the land of Egypt.
And when it says behold your gods, you got to picture this. He's giving his speech to the elders of the people, and he has 2 golden calves behind him. And he said, behold your gods. I mean, he's pointing to them. Look at these 2 golden calves. These are your new gods. You don't have, when it says behold your God, he's pointing to them. Behold means look, meaning they're there behind them. Look, these are your new gods.
And so like he probably had them set up somewhere high for everybody to look
Right.
at.
Shining, probably wipe them down.
Polish them.
And the people, they kind of believe in that, man. Okay, we'll worship 2 golden calves that brought us out of Egypt, man. Same thing that Aaron did. Right? We're gonna get another precept on that, man. So this is the rebellion of the house of David. I mean, of the house of Israel against the house of David. Right? We got Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Now you got the northern kingdom. They doing their own thing.
And it's the book of Sirach, chapter 4, verse 27. Make not thyself an underling to a foolish man, neither accept the persons of the mighty. Right? So they just cleaving unto the king what the king want to do, because he's setting up on the throne and he's a man of authority. Right? We don't give a damn how much authority you got, man. We gonna believe and trust in the Lord, man.
Right.
Straight like that.
It's 2 Samuel chapter 15 and 11. Let's get another precept on that. 2 Samuel chapter 15 and 11.
It's the book of 2 Samuel, chapter 15 and verse 11. And with Absalom went 200 men out of Jerusalem that were called, and they went in their simplicity, and they knew not anything.
Just vain people. They don't know, just followers. They don't know what's going on. Right? They knew not anything. You got people that follow people in their simplicity. They don't know what's going on. They just following man. They don't know no scriptures, no breakdowns, no understanding, but they're like how tall his brother is, how his garment looked. His beard kind of long. He must be a man of the Lord. Look how old his Bible is, and it's all worn up with all of them highlighter marks. He has to be a man of the Most High God. And he talked like that. He talked like that too, man. God, and he's very charismatic, right? And he'll win you over with his fancy speeches. And people like that stuff.
They love that stuff.
That's why pastors talk like that. Yeah,
They love that.
when pastors go home, they're not talking like that. They say, hey, give me the grits. When they get to church, it's all hell break loose, man.
Change the voice
He
up.
changed the voice, and people love that. But God, and people must say, that man must be a man of the Lord. Look how he's talking with conviction and power. I must believe it because he sounds like he believes it. Yeah, that's the spirit on him, man. The Holy Spirit. Holy Ghost. It's the Holy Ghost.
Salaki, damn, you got Tyler Perry, man. He
Right.
put his hands on damn T.D. Jakes, man.
Yeah.
T.D. Jakes was passing out. Tyler Perry was going like this, right?
Yep.
Putting them damn demons on him, man.
Yep.
And the whole congregation was loving it.
Yep.
Throwing their money, right? Old women kind of throwing something else out there. All hell was breaking loose, man. In the wicked church.
And one more point, they wrapped what was it? What's that other pastor? They wrapped him with the Torah. Yeah, who was that? Who was that again?
Eddie Long.
Eddie Long. Yeah, they wrapped up Eddie Long with the Torah, man.
Had him on the throne.
Yeah, they put him on the throne. They was carrying him around.
I ain't see that.
Yeah, they wrapped him
I ain't see
around
that.
the Torah. They put him on the throne. He was
see that.
on stage, man.
I ain't see that.
Blasphemy.
Died.
Yeah, he died. He was a child molester. He was taking pictures with little boys, popping them. You got some Amos?
Yeah.
Salaki, yeah. He was dealing with them.
That's what the book of Hosea going into. That's
Come.
Hosea 4 and 15.
Come, let's go to it.
Jeroboam.
Let's deal with it. All right. So you got men like Eddie Long, man. You know?
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 15. Though thou Israel play the harlot, let not Judah offend, and come not into Gilead, neither go up into Beth Aven, nor swear the Lord liveth.
It's a good precept.
It's more
Come.
It's like I want to touch on that. It says, let not Judah offend. Because when you look at the timeline of these prophets, Hosea was a prophet to testify against who? The northern kingdom of Israel.
Right.
But and you're right, and at that time, Judah, it was going off, but they wasn't going off like northern kingdom. So the Lord said, let not Judah offend, but y'all going to hell off. Amos the prophet, he did the same thing. These was prophets and Micah, they testified against the northern kingdom. So brothers got to know them timelines too.
Right. Verse number 16. For Israel slideth back as a backsliding heifer. Now the Lord will feed them as a lamb in a large place. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let him alone. They're drunk, so like their drink is sour. They have committed whoredom continually. Her rulers with shame do love. Give ye.
See that? So you have that Ephraim. When you see Ephraim in the Hebrew, Iparium, which means fruitful, Ephraim is synonymous with the northern kingdom. Sometimes you'll see the house of Ephraim. Sometimes you'll see the house of Israel. Let's go. You got something?
Yeah.
Forget this precept.
It's the book of Isaiah chapter 7 and verse 8. We're going to what the brother said. For the head of Syria is Damarcus, and the head of Damarcus is risen. You said what?
No, go. You got it.
And within 65 years shall Ephraim be broken, that it be not a people. And the head of Ephraim is Samaria, right? And the head of Samaria is Remaloth's son, and ye will not believe, surely ye shall not be established. So he just told you what the head of Ephraim is. They're representing the northern kingdom.
Khan. Right? Because Samaria was the capital of Ephraim.
Right.
Right? It went from Tirzah to Samaria. When you read the book of 1 Kings chapter 16, 23 on down. Right? But the point is, like the brother going into, you had northern kingdom, you had southern kingdom. Right? There's a precept I was looking for in Jeremiah where the Most High said, I will remove you like I removed your whole brother and the whole seed of Ephraim. Right? So you had Ephraim being divided with the southern kingdom. 2 divisions. Brothers understand that. All right, it's plain. All right, let's go on. Let's go to the book of 2 Kings 17 and 5. 2 Kings chapter 17 and 5. So we're not always going to get on a so-called white man. Let me say that. We're not always going to talk about the white man going to slavery and cutting his head off. And you know, a lot of people, they think, I don't know, man. Why are they going into this, man? I thought this it was supposed to be. No, this is what you need to know, man. You got to eat the whole roll. Eat the spinach on the plate too, man. It ain't going to be looking all good, but you got to eat. It's going to be kind of moving, and you don't know what's in it. And hey, pick it up and eat. It's good for you.
You got a lot of brothers in this truth that know 1,000 precepts on Esau, but don't even know their history, man.
Right.
Don't even know nothing about the Old Testament. Don't know all the high holy days, how to keep them. Don't know a damn thing, man. But they keep talking about putting the white man in slave. How the hell you going to get there, man?
Right.
It starts with reading and learning.
That's
Right?
right.
It's the book of 2 Kings, chapter 17, and verse number 5. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went to Samaria and besieged it 3 years. And in the 9th year of Hosea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria.
See that? So now, northern kingdom, they was beefing with southern kingdom. Now the Lord completely, he's removing northern kingdom and put them in captivity. All right? The king of Assyria waged war. They're north of the northern kingdom of Israel, and they took these men captive. Brothers understand that? Let's jump up to 20. Oh, yes. Let's jump up to 23 real quick.
Verse number 23. Until the Lord removed Israel out of his sight,
That's northern kingdom.
as he had said by all his servants, the prophets.
Right?
So was Israel carried away out of their own land to Assyria until this day.
You see that? So now it's just the southern kingdom left. Northern kingdom, they're out the picture. This is the last time you hear about northern kingdom as a nation. After this point, it's over. You will never hear about them again. They got sent away into captivity, and they came to this side of the world.
Right, we're about to get the account in 2nd Esdras. It's a book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 13 and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea, the king, and Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria, led away captive, as he had carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. We just read that.
Right.
That's the precept. 2 Kings 17 and 5, and we're linking that up with 2nd Esdras 13 and 40. You got a question, brother? Come on. Second Esdras 13 and 40 on down, and 2 Kings 17 and 5 on down. Right, and then we jump to verse 23. Verse number 41. But they took counsel among themselves that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. There you have it.
Right.
They over here now.
Right, this is the country where never mankind dwelt,
Right.
called Azareth, which literally means another land. Right, that's why the so-called white man, he said he found this land. Come on now. He discovered America,
Right.
South America. Complete madness, man. You have an entire civilization thriving here. Hey, they was the Aztec Empire had a better economy than that of Spain, man. In every part of Europe. You look up, what's that city, I can't pronounce it properly, but it's Tenochtitlan, something to that effect. It was the chief capital of the Aztec Empire, and everything was gold. Everything was gold. That's what the so-called white man, they had that El Dorado, and they was trying to come over here and try to find the fountain of life and all of the gold, and they took it all from the people, man. You got something?
When you read 2 Ezra 13, and you go to 41 and 42, they took wise counsel amongst themselves.
Right.
They can come over here and keep the commandments, so they bethought themselves after their captivity.
That's right. And they still came here and still went off.
Yeah.
Yeah, even that's true. And they came here, they was serving the Most High for a period of time, keeping the land Sabbath. Even when you look up the history of the Gadites, they kept the ceremonial laws, the purification laws of childbirth, circumcision. They had the 10 Commandments even on stone written out. You know? You had something, brother?
Yeah, I forgot. I think it was a movie that came out. It's an old movie where they used the apocrypha.
Yeah, the Columbus movie,
Yeah.
1492.
Yeah.
I believe it's called 1492.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They knew what was up.
Yeah. And they
But he's a
kept on
Jew.
there. Yeah, he's a Jew.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, because he quoted Esdras.
Yeah.
Right. And a so-called Christopher Cologne was a so-called Jew himself.
Right.
So he knew about the second Esdras. Everybody knew about the Apocrypha back then.
Right.
Now you bring up second Esdras. Well, what book is that? What's that red book? Right? It's the Apocrypha. And now you got to explain what was taken out and, well, what's that? What's that Maccabees? You know, so back then everybody knew about it. And they knew the history of Gad, Reuben, Asher, Zebulun, the rest of the tribes coming over here. Talking about he came, they say in school that the so-called white man Columbus was looking for the land of India, and then he ended up in America. He got lost.
Right.
That's the best they came up with. He was looking for spices in India. No, he came over here to conquer and enslave these people. The Lord did that. The Lord sent that devil over here, man. So this is where I want you to go. And Columbus had Israelite interpreters and navigators that were Jews, which you call Moors, from southern parts of Spain and Portugal, who ruled the Iberian Peninsula and other parts of Europe. There were movies about that. Othello, I know brothers heard of Othello. Shakespeare, which is a so-called black man, created that play about Othello, which was a Moor, which was an Israelite, who ruled up in Europe at the time. Right? And he was taken out and conspired against by the so-called white man, and all of the Moors got kicked out of Spain and Granada in the early 1400s. The most of them were sent on slave ships, where Columbus at the bottom of the boat, some of them that spoke Hebrew. He knew we can communicate with the Native Americans through Hebrew interpreters, so we want y'all Negroes on the boat with us. Right? So and the so-called white man is not going to tell you that, because this man is the devil.
That's right.
Right, that's right. All right, so let's go on. Right? Let's go to Ezekiel 20 and 32. All right, let's go to the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20 and 32. So you can't learn your history from your enemy.
This is the book of Ezekiel, chapter 20 and verse 32. And that which cometh into your mind shall not be at all, that ye say, we will be as the heathen.
What the northern kingdom say?
We will be as the heathen, as the families of the countries, to serve wood and stone.
It's all right, we're going to be like the heathen, man. A lot of the Assyrians, a lot of Gad, when you look at them now, they picked up a lot of customs from the Assyrians. Polytheistic gods, the bear spirit, the spirit of the owl. There's a technical term called anthropomorphic, where you take actual animals and creatures and you give them human attributes. So that's why they had these things like the great bear spirit or the great owl spirit, and they was heavy into idolatry. Gad, they was into that. Reuben and other tribes, they was into that, man. You know?
They would make them tall wooden planks.
Totem poles. And it'd be like an owl, it'd be a bear.
Yeah, all of the damn animals.
Yeah, a man and all of that, man. Right. They was marring their body all up because they said, we're going to be like the heathen. to serve the other nations and serve gods of wood and stone. Let's go to that and let's go on. Let's go to we read Psalm chapter 106. Right. Let's go to book 2nd Ezra chapter 2, 34. So you see how the Lord called us heathen. Brothers see that, right? The Lord called the Israelites heathen. Why? Because what did we do? Show of hands. What did we do? Right, to serve gods of wood and stone. That's how we became heathen. So sometimes you're reading the Bible, sometimes the heathen are Israelites. You got to understand that, but you have to have the discernment on when these heathen or Gentiles or strangers are talking about us, or they're talking about actual heathen by blood.
Right. These nations don't know what's going on. Man.
Right.
Don't have no discernment.
Right.
Right. This will fire your precept going into what the brother just said. I'm going to start at 33. It's the book of 2nd Esdras, chapter 2, and verse 33. I, Esdras, received a charge of the Lord upon the Mount Oreb, that I should go unto Israel. But when I came unto them, they set me at naught. And then they didn't want to listen to Esdras. And despised the commandment of the Lord.
Never change.
Right. And therefore I say unto you, O ye heathen.
What the Lord called us?
O ye
He
heathen.
says, you don't want to listen to my prophets, I'm going to call you a heathen.
Right.
If you want to serve other gods, I'm going to call you a heathen. The Lord said, O ye heathen.
O ye heathen, that hear and understand. Look for your shepherd. He shall give you everlasting rest, for he is nigh at hand. That shall come into the end of the world.
Salakia. Look for your shepherd. Shepherds rule over the sheep. So who's the sheep? We the sheep. Right? This is the precept. This is 2nd Chronicles, chapter 18 and 16. We're the sheep. So of course, these heathen aren't talking about other nations because they have the shepherd.
Right.
Right? Because they're the lost sheep. 2nd Chronicles, chapter 18 and verse 16. It reads, Then he said, I did see all Israel scattered upon the mountains as sheep that have no shepherd. And the Lord said, These have no master. Let them return therefore every man to his house in peace. So the Lord called us heathen and sheep with no shepherd. If you a sheep with no shepherd, you a heathen. Because your shepherd is going to show you and guide you. The other nations, they're going to lead you to destruction. Right? So that's the Lord calling us heathen. So go to, yes, I'm not.
Yeah. And I want to say, you got to get your hip talk up in the Bible and understand what these terms mean.
Right.
Right? We the grapes, we the sheeps, right? You need to go, we the meek, we the humble, we the lowly, right? That's going to further help you to understand the Bible when you have these terms, right? And like in the right context, like the brother was bringing out, heathen is talking about us in some context.
Right? Hey, the brother did a mean cold cut on a sling, man. Right? You got to check that out on the cold cut channel. That's on this cold cut channel?
I believe so.
It should be on this cold cut channel. All right, let's go to Matthew 18 and 15. We're showing you how Israelites are called heathen throughout the Bible. Just to give you the understanding, or sometimes you'll see the word heathen in the New Testament, chiefly in Galatians or other parts, but it's only talking about the Israelites. We give you the background of how we became heathen. 18 to 15.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
Every brother got to know this in here, man. We need to know how to do this in order, man. Don't put the brother on blast on Instagram. Don't take up his child pictures, right, and post it all on Facebook. You know, whatever. I'm going to get him back, but I'm going to deal with his woman. Then he going to learn. You got men that act like that, man. If your brother go off, talk to him by himself alone. Right? You don't need 50 people there and you roll up 20 deep.
Instigators.
You rolling up on a brother with 25 of y'all, and now I want to talk to y'all. Right? Or 7 of y'all. Look, brother, use wisdom and context and get that brother between you and him alone. Not 30 of y'all, 20 of him. Or 5 of y'all and 5 of y'all.
Right, because there ain't nothing going to happen but a bunch of instigating, man.
Right, and follow.
Right. But did you hear that? You going to let him talk to you like that?
Right.
If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother.
Yeah, let's say Araya step on my shoes, and I say, man, and then he don't say nothing. He just look at me up and down. I'm gonna say something to him, man.
It's a nigga.
Right. Say, look, brother, you know, according to scripture, so forth and so forth. I'm gonna go according to scripture. I'm not gonna tell him how I feel, look, according to so and so and so and so, brother. You know, whatever. Whatever I say to him in wisdom. Now, if he say, look, I went off, I was having a bad day, my woman put her hands on me early that morning, so I took it out on you and your shoes. But all right, brother, look, and I give a counsel to the brother. He said, all right, the water for the counsel. All right? That's if he hear me.
Verse 16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
All right, now, if he don't want to hear me, say, man, I don't know what you're talking about, man. I ain't do that. F them shoes, man. Mine's better anyway. Now I gotta take. Now this may have happened at a feast day, and let's say brother saw it, man. Let's say Amos saw it. Let's say Jezreel saw it. I'm gonna say, look, didn't y'all see the brother step on my shoes? And they gonna say, yeah, I saw him do that. Yeah, I was kind of getting the food, but I still saw him do that. So now me, Jezreel, and Amos, we gotta pop up on a riot. We gotta schedule. Look, Arad, look, these brothers they saw it too. Mm-hmm. It's not just me. Now I can't pay these brothers off and say, well, look, I'm gonna give you 30,000, brother, if you say that he stepped on my shoes. I don't have that money, and I wouldn't do that, right? But brothers don't pay brothers off for false witnesses. Right. But you have to have 2 witnesses to testify and back up what you're saying.
Right. Let me get that out the law. It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter.
One more point. This shows you the precept he bringing out that you gotta keep the law.
Right.
Because Yahweh Shah is saying keep the law.
Right. Going back to the law.
Right.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 19 and verse 15. 1 witness shall not rise up against a man for any iniquity.
Right, because the brother may say, ain't nobody gonna believe you. You ain't never stepped on my shoes.
Right. Or for any sin, and any sin that he sinneth at the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, shall the matter be established. So it's got to be established in order with 2 or 3 witnesses. Thus saith the Lord.
That's right.
Right. Going back to Matthew chapter 18, right, in verse number 16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
So don't let Christians say you don't have to keep the law. We went to in the previous lesson, 1 Corinthians 9:9, 1 Timothy 5, Yahweh Shah quoting the law. What'd you say, brother?
Quick question.
You gotta speak up.
Quick question. What if per se, like, all right, if a brother, steps on your shoes and does whatever, right? Does wrong, you feel like, and you didn't have witnesses around, like it was just you and him around, right? Like, then what do you do? Because, certain brothers, they develop aggressive, so you just gotta kind of forgive that brother. What do you do?
Yeah, you gotta forgive the brother. Let's go to Matthew. Oh, you got something?
I got a quick precept. Right. It's the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 9. For Yahweh is my witness, whom I serve with my spirit and the gospel of his Son, that without ceasing I make mention of you always in my prayers. So the Lord see everything, brother, right? It may not be people around, maybe by yourself, right? But the Lord saw that. And like you read about in Ecclesiastes 12 and 14, he's going to bring every work into judgment, right? With every good thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
And in Luke chapter 12 and 2, nothing in dark, everything in darkness is going to come to light, right? So the Most High may put a spirit on that brother, and he might be a homosexual, man. Because he didn't want to confess that fault. So let's go back to that. No, that's real. The Most High can do that. That's extreme, but the Most High can do that, man. Right?
Yeah, and like I was about to say, everything, the Lord, you're not going to get away. That's
right.
Ecclesiastes 8 and 11. Let me get that real fast.
I got you. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 8 and 11. And it reads, because sentence against an evil work is not executed speedily.
Right, it didn't come to pass immediately. You didn't have the witnesses, right? It was done all the way in the field. It was nighttime. Read on.
Therefore, the heart of the sons of men is fully set in them to do evil.
Right, you think he could get away with it. Ain't nothing going to happen. Right, he laughing, I done got away with murder, I done got away with stomping on the brother's shoes, right, creeping out the brother's back door, right, when he was at work, whatever the hell going on, hey, the Lord gonna get up with you, man.
Right. This Sirach 23 and 19. Sirach 23 and 19. Such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Lord are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts. I'm going to jump down to verse 21. Tell you what's going to happen to that man. This man shall be punished in the streets of the city, and where he suspected not, he shall be taken. So that's what's going to happen to him, brother. Right? He's going to get jammed up.
That's right. You got it.
So let's go back to Matthew 18. So if you don't, let's see what happens. You bring 2 or 3 witnesses. Jezreel, Amos say he stepped on my shoes. I saw him step on your shoes. He may say, nah, I don't believe that. Y'all liars, right? So let's see what happened after that.
Verse 17. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church.
The church is the body. Now we got to bring it before the whole congregation, the elders, right? Go on.
But if he neglect to hear the church,
If he start cussing out the elders, go on.
let him be unto thee as an heathen man and a publican.
You see that? This is another way you can become a heathen.
Right.
By being a nigga. Right? By being unmerciful and not being sincere. This is how you can become a heathen.
And Exodus 23:1, by bringing up a false report.
Yep, bringing up a false report. Following a multitude to do evil. There are many ways you can become a heathen. It all goes back to transgressing the law. All right? So let's get another precept. You have something else?
You said, what was that precept, King?
Exodus 23:1.
Come on, I'm bringing it up. Come on. It's the book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 1. Thou shalt not rise a false report. Put not thine hand to do the wicked, to be an unrighteous witness. Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil, neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to rush with judgment.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't speak after a cause to decline after many to rush judgment. Meaning, first of all, you follow the multitude to bear false witness. Now when the truth is coming out, you're trying to twist it up in front of the congregation. Right? As 40 of us, we all agree that this brother stepped on the shoes, but here you go. You decline after many to rush judgment. No, he didn't do it. I saw him step on the shoes. That's wicked, man. Because that's your man's. Right? That's a sin.
Right.
All right? You have men that do stuff like that, man. Just because that's your boy, that's your homeboy, you want to be a false witness, man. Yeah, he wasn't there. You're going to get put to death, man. You can't be a false witness. Right? That's one of the 10 commandments.
Right, like those wicked, dirty elders, man.
Right.
Mr. and Susanna.
Right.
They raised up false witness.
Lusting.
Right? Lusting. Right? Hey, they got put to death for that.
Yeah.
That's another account right there for the brother, right there.
Right.
Right? Hey, the Lord had to come into play.
False witnesses against Yahweh.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. The false witnesses against Stephen, man. That's how Stephen got put to death with false witnesses. It says, though many false witnesses came. Right? So, this is how you become a heathen, man, too.
It's the book of Matthew, chapter 26 and verse 59. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against Hamashiach the Yahushua to put him to death, but found none. Yea, through many false witnesses came, yet found they none, and at the last came 2 false witnesses. Because they knew the law. At the last come 2 false witnesses. Right? They damn having wicked counsel, trying to rise up. How we going to take him down? Right? That's just all come together in wickedness to destroy this man. Right? And that's in the Bible.
Yeah, against the Lord, man.
That's awful.
Right? Let's get another precept on us being heathen, man. Right? Let's go to the book of, Galatians. Actually, let's go to 2 Maccabees 4 and 9. Right? So brothers understand now how we became Gentiles. How we became heathen. 2 Maccabees 4 and 9.
This is the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 4 and verse 9. Beside this, he promised to assign 150 more, and if he might license them to be a place for an exercise, for the training up of the youth, of the fashionings, of the heathen.
Of the what?
Of the heathen. And to write them in Jerusalem by the name of Antiochs.
Antiochians. So instead of them being Israelites, they became Antiochians. Right? I don't want to be an Israelite from the tribe of Judah. Call me an Antiochian. Call me an American, an African American, a Negro, Hispanic. Right?
A Trump.
Yeah, a trumper.
Yeah, Trump.
That's what just happened, man. They built the place of exercise. What is that place of exercise? Gymnasiums.
Yeah.
Brothers understand that etymology. What is the origin of the word gymnasium?
The Coliseum, right?
No, this is a gymnasium. But the word gymnasium means what? By show of hand.
Gym.
Nope.
Working out naked.
Work out naked. That's what it means.
That's how them Greeks get down, man.
Gymno or gym and nasium, which means naked. So your work, that's why you look at these ancient white men, they working out naked. They wrestling, and one got his, and he got the discus, and you're like, how, look, UFC, the same thing. Yeah, I'm gonna put him in a chokehold. No, you're not putting him in a chokehold, brother. Right? You see that UFC, they be on top, and he be hitting them slow when you really should, it be wickedness, man.
It's like that wrestling spirit.
Yeah.
They put leg locking a grown man.
Right.
Wrestling spirit.
Right.
Good.
It was a movie back in the day called Ladies Man. Right, and Will Ferrell, he always had a dude with him, and he was always wrestling.
See that?
Yeah,
So you can't do that, man. You got something, brother?
I was gonna say, even with like sometimes you go to the gym, Esau's the only one that can feel comfortable standing in front of another Esau butt naked.
Yeah, they be butt naked. Yeah, they be naked, man. You go, go to them damn Wyams, they be like 65, 70. Those are ancient Greeks, man. And they damn stuff all out, man. And you got your son in there, man. And your son say, Daddy, what was that? And you gotta kind of explain to him.
Brother seen the movie Mr. Deeds. So he was, nah, that wasn't Tyler. That was Adam Sandler movie.
Nice.
He damn had a note with him, and he went in the bathroom. He's damn washing his ass, man.
Wow.
In front of him, breaking things down like nothing was wrong, man.
You see that?
That's how the so-called white man get down.
And this is what we read. Let's read this again. I'm gonna read it again. This is 2 Maccabees 4:9. But now, who did this? Who do you think set this whole thing up? A Jake who sold out?
Right.
Jason sold his own people out. Wanted to be like the so-called white man. A coon. One of the top coons in the Bible. Right? Besides the other wicked acts he did, right? He promised to assign 150 more if he might have license to set him up a place of exercise. So he wanted to see little Jake boys work out naked, man. So he was a pervert too, a pedophile. It reads, for the training up of youth and the fashions of the heathens, so that eventually they became heathen. And to write them of Jerusalem by the name of Antiochians. So this is a byword. So eventually, when they had sons and daughters, he said, son, Dad, who am I? You're an Antiochus, my son. Right? Well, I heard that we used to be Israel, but now we're Antiochians. And when you teach your son, you tell him he's an Antiochian. And his son, and we're going to be Greeks and Antiochians. Even to the time that Paul comes to us, we're still going to be Greeks. Right? Let's go on.
Verse number 10. Which, when the king had granted and had gotten into his hand the ruler, he forthwith brought his own nation to the Greekish fashion.
See that? You think Esau had a problem with giving this man money to set up a gym? No, you want to help your people coon out. If you want to build a church, what else is a coon building? You want to build a damn mosque. If you want to build up whatever, you're going to get license from the so-called white man. And he's going to freely give it to you. No matter what your credit is, how bad you down and out, as long as it's set up to destroy your own people, you got it. Right? But say you build an Israelite school for the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native American man. Oh, no, your credit. No. Well, why don't you come back next week? You're not approved. But if you want to build a gym, you want to be a nigga, maybe a basketball court.
Build a club.
Club, strip club, right? A bar, liquor store, right? Well, not even a damn liquor store, man, because he want that money off the liquor store and the taxes. But everything else, look, you have no problem getting that from Esau. Same thing back then, right? Where we at? 11. Come, I'll read them. Come. And the royal privileges granted of special favor to the Jews by the means of John, the father of Eupolemus, who went ambassador to Rome for amity and aid. He took away and putting down the governments. So he put down the governments which were, according to the law, he brought up new customs against the law. For he built gladly a place of exercise under the tower itself, and brought the chief young men under subjection, and made them wear a hat. Now such was the height of Greek fashions, like Jake wear that fitted cap. All right, that's a so-called white man made that thing up. King David didn't wear a fitted cap. I don't care what you got on if it's say New York, or Detroit, or a new era. That's the so-called white man's fashions, man. He made you wear a hat. You know? Your damn snapback. They had a song, Snapback Fitted Cap, man. Back in the day. Yeah, snapbacks and tattoos, man. Wicked. Right? It says, now such was the height of Greek fashions, and increase of heathenish manners, through the exceeding profaneness of Jason, that ungodly wretch, and no high priest. Because he bought the priesthood. You can't buy the priesthood. He bought the priesthood to be a coon. And he led the people into being heathen. Like your pastors and your deacons and your rulers to this day. The leaders of my people caused them to err, and they that are led of them are destroyed. That's Isaiah 9:16. So now, brothers, you see how we became heathen. Right? How we became Greeks. Let's go to 2 Maccabees.
6.
Oh yeah, 6. And 6. Come.
Then it's saying,
You gotta speak up, King.
It's saying 14 and 15, there's that the priests like the glory of Grecians, which is the best of all.
Right, that's right.
They love being in Greece.
Right.
They enjoyed it.
Right.
I love it.
You got Jake mad that COVID is going on because they want to go to the Olympics. And they want to actually, pass the torch. That's a damn offering to the Greek god Zeus, man. That's a whole ceremony and ritual with that fire and that light and that torch.
Right. It's the book of 2 Maccabees, chapter 6 and verse 6. And it reads, neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
And why are we going over this? Because during the time of the New Testament, you'll always see that word Greek. Right? There's Jew nor Greek. Greek this. Greek Scythian. Barbarian. You'll always see that word Greek, not understanding that in the book of Maccabees, which one of the reasons why they took out the Apocrypha, is give you the breakdown how we became Greeks. Tell you that were those Greeks. Were those people that were Hellenized, meaning forced to live like the so-called white man. So when you open up that New Testament, you're reading about your fathers who were disconnected from their heritage. During the time of the apostles, you have Jews who knew that they were Jews, like the apostles, Peter, John, James, Andrew. They knew who they were. They kept the Passover. They went to the Sabbath class. They knew all of that. You had other men who didn't know that because they were living like the Greeks at the time. This is the division between the Jews and the Greeks. Brothers who know they Israel, brothers who don't know they Israel. That's how they became Greeks.
Verse number 7.
Let's read 6 against Lucky.
Verse number 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days, or ancient feasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew.
You couldn't even call yourself a Jew. If you did, you got put to death. So what do you think our people adopted? Greeks. By what? By fear of the so-called white man. Go on.
Verse 7. And in that day of the king's birth, every month, they were brought by bitter constraint to eat of the sacrifices. And when the feast of Bacchus was kept, the Jews were compelled to go in possession to Bacchus, carrying ivy.
Right. We had to be in their parades by force. Go on.
Moreover, there went out a decree to all the neighboring cities of the heathen that by the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. And whoso would not conform themselves to the manner of the Gentiles shall be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery.
See that? The Lord said if you didn't call yourself a Gentile, you were put to death. So you had entire families who had to tell them, look, son, we have to have this talk. I know when you walking through the streets and damn Greeks run across you, and they ask you who you are, tell them you're a Greek. Right? Similar now, your people you get pulled over by the police. You have parents, you have to tell your children how to deal with the police, how to deal with the so-called white man so you don't get put to death. Right? Back then, this is what it was. Tell them you're a Greek. Right? Anybody asks you're a Greek, you're not a Jew. So again, in the process of time, when they had children, and their children had children, the whole concept of them knowing that they're Israel has been blotted out by fear of the sword of the so-called white man. Now you had men who didn't give a damn, like the brothers in Maccabees. I ain't calling myself no damn Greek. I'd rather kill the so-called white man or I die an Israelite than to profess myself something that the Most High didn't give me. Bring it out, brother.
Was that the Crusades that was doing that?
What, during this time?
They was doing it too, actually.
In the Crusades, they was doing that. They was doing things like that. You had brothers that was going back to take down Jerusalem in the so-called Middle Ages. Get it out of the hand of, what's this guy's name? I can't remember his name. But he was over the so-called Muslims. I can't remember the brother.
Right, to go into what the brother was saying, man, like the Maccabees, they ain't give a damn, right? Matthias, what?
It was Saladin, I believe, when you look it up.
Matthias ain't give a damn. This is the book of First Maccabees, right? Chapter 1 and verse 27. And it's like 2 and 27. Yeah. What?
First Maccabees, chapter 2 and 27. And it reads, and Matthias cried throughout the city with a loud voice, saying, whosoever is zealous of the law and maintaineth the covenant, let him follow me.
Right, follow me, man. We're not going to do the customs of the so-called white man, man. Right, we're going to care for our God and our laws, right? We don't.
So he and his sons fled into the mountains.
Right, they left the provinces, man. Right, they're not joining with the so-called white man, right, with their traditions of religion. They fled all the way up into the mountains.
And left all that ever they had in the city.
Now, some people be like, no, I want to take my cat. I want to take my dog. Right, I want to take all my clothes. And they just fled, man. They ain't give a damn, man. They stepped. Read.
Then many that sought after justice and judgment went down to the wilderness to dwell there.
Only the real men are going to do that, man. You're going to have the cowards and the coons. They're going to cleave and they're going to bow down to the so-called white man. Then you're going to have the real men of the Lord that's going to leave everything they had and flee to keep the laws. That's it. That's it.
Right, and those days are coming back on the earth too, man.
Right.
Right, those days are coming back on the earth. Real quick, let's go to John 10 and 22. Let's go to St. John 10 and 22. Because we filling in the gap. We filling in the gap of the Greeks.
This is the book of St. John, chapter 10 and verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter.
Right, now where do you read about the feast of dedication at? In the Maccabees. So you mean to tell me, where is the Maccabees at in the New Testament? I'm reading from Genesis to Malachi, I'm in Matthew to Revelation. I have not read about the Feast of Dedication. So there, again, we're showing that there's an entire history that was taken out of the Bible, which is supposed to be the Greek history, the time of the Greeks. All right, that was prophesied in the book of Daniel. We're not going to read Daniel the 8th chapter and Daniel the 11th chapter and Daniel the 7th chapter, but you can read about that on your own. Or watch the breakdowns we've been doing on Monday, going through the breakdowns in Daniel, how the Greeks came into power. And they took over the children of Israel by force of the sword. That's why in the New Testament you read about Greeks, but it's not talking about a so-called white man who's in that land, and that's not even his land. That's the land that the Lord gave to Japheth, right? Javan and Tubal and Kittim, the land of Kittim, that land was given to the children of Japheth. But the so-called white man went up, took that land down from those people. The Etruscans, the Umbrians, the Minoans, Mycenaeans, and he adopted, now he's the Greeks. All right, now he's the Greeks. And he took down us, and we became Greeks too. Gog and Magog. That was the land given to Japheth too, man. Those are your ancient Japhetic nations.
Like when even Joel 3 and 6 actually told us that Israel was sold to the Greeks.
Exactly, to the Grecians. Right.
New Testament, when you go, you know what I'm saying? That's what you're going to preach.
Right.
Paul that to go and teach.
Right. And that's ancient times. You know, a lot of people, they'll go to Joel 3 and 6 and just apply it to the transatlantic slave trade. It's not just talking about the transatlantic slave trade. It's ancient times too. Even the sons of Japheth are those Grecians. You had a question, brother?
Yeah, and that also validates the Apocrypha too.
Exactly, that validates the Apocrypha too, man. All right, so brothers understand how we became Greeks. All right, so let's go on. Let's go to Galatians now. We went to Galatians 3 and 18. Let's go to Galatians 1 and 16. Do brothers remember where Galatia is? Turkey, modern day Turkey. There you go, Asia Minor. You read Asia in the Bible, it's not talking about China, Japan, and Cambodia. It's talking about Turkey, Asia Minor. That's what the so-called white man called it.
It's the book of Galatians, chapter 1 and verse number 16. To reveal his son in me, that I might preach him among the heathen. Immediately I conferred not with the flesh and blood.
Right, so when the Lord told Paul to go teach these heathen, he didn't have to ask nobody. That's what it means I conferred not with flesh and blood. All right, should I go teach them Amos, what you think? No, I'm gonna go do it. You don't have to confer with flesh and blood to do the work of the Lord. Meaning get their damn validation, right? Or get their okay and green light. Paul knew the Spirit was on him. He went out there to do it. He preached to the Israelites that was among the heathen, meaning these different Israelites that lived amongst the Israelite foreigners and Gentiles.
And like, but that's in Acts 21:18 too. It says that they went among the heathen.
Exactly.
To teach the Jews that was among the heathen.
Exactly.
Go. And it's a precept on that. Right? It's the book of John, chapter 7, verse 35. Then said the Jews among themselves, whither will he go that we shall not find him? Will he go into the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? Right? That's talking about us. We are dispersed amongst the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles because we were in those provinces and those places. Right?
Right. Now, when you look that word up, Gentiles in the blue letter, brothers know what that word is? We go to the dispersed among the Gentiles. Let's go to that in the blue letter. Baba Kashaf. The blue letter is the concordance that goes from the Hebrew and the Greek. Right? So these men, they said, well, Yahushua said, where I go, you cannot find me. They said, well, where are you going? They start asking, well, where's he going to go? Is he going to go to these dispersed people amongst the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? Where we at? John 7. Right? Now who is the dispersed? The Israelites. They're living amongst the Gentiles, meaning literally the other nations. But when he's saying teach the Gentiles, he's talking about the Israelites that lived like those Gentiles. Right? So when you go to that word, Salaki, it should be Helen, Khan. That word is Helen in the Greek, which literally means Salakia. It says a Greek either by nationality, whether a native of the mainland or of the Greek island or colonies. Meaning what? This was an Israelite that became a Greek. It said basically, where is he going to go? Is he going to teach the Greeks that we just read about at the time of Maccabees? That's what's going on. Are you going to teach these brothers that became Hellenized? Don't you know, real quick, let's go to John 12 and 18. I'm going to show you something else. John 12 and 18. Our forefathers, they always knew about that. Right. About the Israelites that were dispersed. John 12 and 18 and 19.
This is the book of John, chapter 12 and verse 18. For this cause the people also met him, for that they heard that he had done this miracle. The Pharisees therefore said among themselves, perceive ye how ye prevail nothing? Behold, the world is gone after him.
Yeah, that's a John 3:16 precept. You can use that word world. It's not talking about the whole earth. The word of Israel. Right, we can go on.
And there were certain Greeks among them that came up to worship at the feast.
Uh-oh. So did they allow a so-called white man to come in there? Is that what it's talking about? White man came to sit next to Yahushua and worship the Most High at the feast day? No, who are these Greeks? Israelites, man. Right? But they're from other lands. You have something called a proselyte. Right? You had religious proselytes or that will come from other lands and keep the high holy days. Even before the time of Acts, the 2nd chapter, when you had Jews from every nation. This was already going on. Why do you think in the time when Yahushua was beating people in the temple, they was robbing the people? Right? It says, you have made my father's house a house of merchandise. Because the Jews that will come from different lands will have to trade in their money. Right? If I came from Elam or the land of Pamphylia, the currency that I use, I can't use that in Jerusalem to buy things. So I have to exchange my money. Right? But if I'm the money exchanger, in order for me to make money, I got to tax the damn trade that we doing. And brothers understand that. Right? So if you trading in your, for lack of better terms, your 50 euros for 50 American dollars, I got to make money off of it, so I'm going to charge you an additional so I can pocket that myself. So they was doing that for all of the Jews that came from these different lands. So that's where Yahushua perceived that, and he started beating them down. Because you had Jews and Greeks coming from all over, even during the time of the Passovers, and the Feast of Tabernacles, and the Pentecost. You know, but Acts, the 2nd chapters, mention that as a major account for the account of the Holy Spirit.
Right. Read on.
Yeah, we got to wrap up too. Yeah, let's go to Galatians 2 and 9. We're gonna get a few more. Galatians chapter 2 and 9.
This is the book of Galatians, chapter 2 and verse 9. And when James, Cephas,
That's
and
Cephas.
and John,
That's James, Peter, and John.
who seemed to be pillars, perceived the grace that was given unto me, they gave to me and Barnabas the right hands of the fellowship, that we should go unto the heathen, and they unto the circumcision.
All right, did they have to go teach Esau and Moab? It said they have to go to the heathen, though. So if I didn't have any understanding, Christians, they'll use that, man. All right, but you got to go through the precepts. That's why precept must be upon precept, or you're going to get jammed up in the New Testament. You're going to think that the heathen are the other nations that Paul went to. Well, he went to the Israelites, man, that were serving other gods, but now they're coming back to the knowledge of the Most High.
That's why it's good to read the beginning of these epistles, man.
Right.
Right? It's going to tell you straight up and down who it's to.
Right.
Right? This is Galatians 1, and I'm going to start at 2. And all the brethren, who are the brethren? The children of Israel. Right? It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 18 and verse 15. Which are with me unto the church. Who is the church? The children of Israel, man. Who's the church in the wilderness? Right? Unto Galatia.
Right. So brothers understand that, man. Right? Let's go to 1 Peter 2 and 9. Right? Remember, Peter wrote this letter to the strangers scattered throughout Pontus, Cappadocia, Asia, Bithynia, elect, according to the foreknowledge of the Most High. Right? So let's see if these strangers, again, are heathen.
This is the book of 1 Peter, chapter 1 and verse 1.
Remember, this is written to, we read 2 and 9.
2 and 9?
Yeah. Remember, we read that it's written to the strangers. If I didn't have understanding, I would think that's a non-Israelite. But let's find out.
It's the book of 1 Peter, chapter 2 and verse 9.
Same book.
But ye are a chosen generation,
Uh-oh.
a royal priesthood, and holy nation, a peculiar people, that ye should shew forth the praise unto him which have called you out of darkness into his marvelous light.
But this was written to the strangers. Why would the Lord call these strangers a peculiar people, a chosen people? Because these strangers are Israelites. Let's go to verse 25.
Verse 25. For ye were as sheep going astray,
Uh-oh.
but are now returned unto the shepherd, the bishop of your souls.
But it's written to the strangers. So it's telling you who these strangers are. The lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, hold on, bro. Let's get another one. Go to Titus 2 and 14. We just giving you other accounts in the New Testament that you can add to your arsenal that show how these heathen are Israelites and these Gentiles. There's more, but for sake of time, we're trying to get, give you some head choppers. You can start at 11.
2 and 11.
Yeah.
It's the book of Titus, chapter 2 and verse 11. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared unto all men,
All Israelite men.
teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly, righteously, and godly in this present world, looking for that blessed hope and the glorious appearing of that great God and our Savior, Mashiach Yahushua, who gave himself for us, that he might redeem all from all iniquity and purify unto himself a peculiar people.
And what?
A peculiar people.
Who's the peculiar people? How do you know that? No, not 7 and 6. 14 and 2 in Deuteronomy. Right? Deuteronomy 14 and 2. But it says salvation's for all men in Titus. But we know those all men are the peculiar men, the Israelite men. So there's little key words, like the brother said, even in the beginning of the epistles, and key phrases you got to pick up, and then it constantly reminds you that, oh yeah, this is Israel. Because if you unlearn, you're going to read, hold on, nah, this one can't be Israel. It must be. It's always going to be salvation for Israel, man.
Right.
But you have to always go back in your mind and understand the precepts and the history, so you don't get damn double-minded in this thing.
Right, get jammed up and twisted.
Right.
Right, and rushing to your destruction, like
Right.
you were saying, man.
Right.
It's the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 14, and verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord had chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself above all the nations that are upon the earth. So he said we above all the nations, right? So that wouldn't make any sense if that was dealing and talking about everybody. For every nation to be above each other, that would make no sense.
Right.
It all goes back to Israel.
Right. Let's go to Romans 9 and 10. Right? Now, maybe the Romans is a white man, because the Romans are white people, right? Are these Romans Edomites? Let's find out. These are quick head choppers.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 9 and verse 10. And not only this, but when Rebekah also had conceived by one, even by our father Isaac.
Even by what?
Even by our father Isaac.
Even by our father Isaac. So they're reading this letter, and their father has to be Isaac. So whose father is Isaac? Esau and Jacob. Right? But we know that this is talking about Jacob when you read this account. This cuts out everybody else. Right? For if Africa come up and want to go to Romans, you ask them, is your father Isaac? For Hawaiian man, a Japhic man, an Arab man, it said, our father Isaac. They automatically out the picture. Now, if it's a so-called white man, you can kind of toy with him. All right, yeah, Esau, then you go up to verse 4. 1 and 7. However you want to deal with him.
Lead them to the slaughter.
Yeah, you can lead them to the slaughter. You got to set this thing up, man.
Come.
Like checkers and chess.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. Right, let me read, this is the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 7. Right? Going back to the beginning of the epistle. Right? Because you can have, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, right? But you can scroll all the way down to the end of the letter or the beginning of it and say this is to da-da-da.
Right.
So if you read bold letters, fried chicken, everybody might go crazy.
Right.
But it's not for everybody. Right? That sticky note on the fridge ain't for everybody.
Right.
Right?
Right.
It's the book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse number 7. To all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Mashiach Yahushua. So who are the saints? The Israelites. What precept is that?
Psalm 148:14.
There you go.
Brothers on it, man.
Right? Let's get it. Bring it up.
Yeah, Romans 11 and 11.
Romans 11:11. Let's deal with it.
Go.
So you want to get these head choppers. You got it.
Come. It's the book of Romans, chapter 11 and verse 11. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles.
See that? Salvation has come for the Gentiles. Who are the Gentiles? Go to Acts 20 and 21. So you want to get these little key precepts and build it up. You want to get the best little spiritual Legos and make your best building, man. And build this foundation up.
That's right. It's the book of Acts, chapter 20 and verse 21.
We read that salvation come to the Gentiles.
Testifying both to the Jews and also to the Greeks, repentance toward God and faith toward our Lord Mashiach Yahushua.
So these Greeks, these Gentiles, the Lord said they can repent. But who is repentance for? For Israel. But it said the Greeks can repent. So these Greeks have to be Israelites. Because we know repentance is only for us. See that in Acts the 5th chapter.
Then I was,
Go ahead, King. Go ahead.
I was watching this video, and the preacher here that went into the olive tree.
Right.
Knowing that the olive tree that goes into Jeremiah 11 and 16.
Exactly.
That we are the olive tree.
Right.
We the branches that go on.
Right.
Not the original Gentile. That's talking about us. That goes into I think it's Ezekiel 37 and 22.
Con. The two branches.
Yeah.
Con. That's right.
It's the book of Ephesians, chapter 2 and verse 11. Say, wherefore remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh, we that had no understanding, jumping into the idols and the philosophies, right? And their religion, who were called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision in the flesh made by hands, that at that time ye were without Hamashiach, being aliens from the commonwealth of Israel and strangers from the covenants of promise, having no hope and without God in the world. We was lost as hell, man.
Right.
Christianity, right? 2 and 11. Yeah, 2 and 11 on down to 22. Right? It said being strangers. Not knowing the Lord makes you a stranger, makes you an alien, makes you a Gentile, makes you a Greek. It makes you all the customs, right, that the so-called white man calls you, man. Right? It says what? Verse 13. But now in Hamashiach, ye who were sometime were afar off are made nigh by the blood of Hamashiach. For he is our peace, who have made both one and have broken down the middle wall of partition between us. I'm going to jump down to verse 18. It says, for though him we have both have access by one Spirit unto the Father. Now therefore ye are no more strangers and foreigners, but fellow citizens with the saints and the household of God. Say, so you no longer strangers no more, man. You came back home. So we say, come home, man. Right? You were far off. You were lost sheep. But after you come back home, like a stray dog. It's a stray dog, right? Hey, but it's still a dog. It still got to come home. It still needs a house, right? That's why we say, come home, man. When you finally come back to this truth, right, you're no longer a stranger in this world and a Gentile.
That's right. Here got another precept for the strangers. Sirach chapter 45, and I'll start at 17. Right? Sirach chapter 45 and 17. I got it. It reads, this dealing with Moses. He gave unto him his commandments and authority and the statutes of judgments, that he should teach Jacob the testimonies and inform Israel in his laws. Right? Y'all can use that precept too to show that Israel is the only one that was given the law. With the point, verse 18. Strangers conspired together against him and maligned him in the wilderness. Even the men that were of Dathan's and Abraham's side, and the congregation of Korah with fury and wrath. So it says strangers, they rebelled against Moses in the wilderness. And they named the strangers Dathan, Abraham, and Korah, which were men of Reuben and Levi who went off, man.